Cool guys, welcome back to another episode of Creatives on Business. My name is Henry Marsh, and it is my job to chat with all of the amazing creative human beings right across the world and how they have created some awesome, sustainable way to live a creative life with what they do. Today's guest is an incredible fashionista, if I can put it that way, and someone who I've known for quite a number of years, who is very, very, very well known and respected within the fashion industry. It is Leeroy Esbend. Welcome to the show.
How's that?
How are you doing, dude?
I'm good. It's different being in quarantine, but I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah. So this
I'm
is
excited to talk to you. I haven't spoken to you in like forever.
I always get these people who are just like, yeah, we just want to chat to Henry. It's great. It makes me feel special. So this is actually the first episode. I didn't actually mention this earlier today. This is the first episode that we're not doing video. So this is going to be like very VIP kind of stuff. So thank you for joining the conversation. I do appreciate it, and thanks for being on the show.
It's a pleasure.
So Leeroy, for the party people out there who may not know, who is Leeroy Esbend? What do you do?
So Leeroy Esbend, I'm a really cool person. I am extroverted but introverted. I like wearing fabulous things. But no, I run an online magazine, and I'm also the media and communications manager for South African Fashion Week.
Nice. Now, you didn't always have the job at SA Fashion Week. So what is sort of the leading up moments to getting in at SA Fashion Week?
Oh, yes. So I've been attending SA Fashion Week for I think about 4 or 5 years now. And I just love being in the scene, and I think that's where I know you from from another publication that you used to work for, right?
Yes. Drop Your Drink, I think, was back when it was called. It was called
Yes,
Drop Your Drink.
when it was Drop Your Drink, yes. So that's where I know you from. But yeah, I just woke up one morning and Lucilla Boysen phoned me and she was like, I want you to come and work for me. So come and work for me. But, I had a friend that worked at Fashion Week. Her name is Kia, and she was the content coordinator. And, she obviously got better opportunities. So when she resigned, she, put me as a reference to work at Fashion Week. So it was truly an honor for me. And yeah, it wasn't a thing of, oh, I should think about it. It was like, okay, cool, just do it.
Yeah.
And I've been doing it, and I've been working full-time at Fashion Week for 1 year and 2 months now.
Wow, I actually didn't realize you've been there for so long. It's crazy how the time flies.
Well, it feels like I've been there for 22 years.
Is it that bad, Leeroy?
No, it's lovely. But you can even ask like Lucilla, and in the meetings, it's just like, I know so much already of like everything. That I mean, I can tell you of like photographs from the archives, where to find these photographs, where to look for it anywhere. It's like I've studied Fashion Week. It's intense. But I mean, and I know Lucilla for a long time. So, she feels like my mother away from my mother.
Okay. There was actually something I'd been meaning to ask you in terms of the Fashion Week thing, because your background isn't necessarily in fashion. If I understand correctly, you're more into the PR side and social media management and that kind of thing, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. So my background is not fashion. My background is more digital marketing, PR. That's where, I started my career. And it's been great. it's been great. So, you know, it's not, I've worked in different fields. I've worked in IT, I've worked in property management, I've worked in education. And, you know, it's just nice to dabble in fashion. And I think that's just where I feel more comfortable.
Yeah, yeah. So where did your love for fashion come from? Were you just one of those kids who you just looked up all the Marie Claire magazines growing up, or where did your love for fashion come from?
You know, it's so weird. I don't know. I just always loved wearing and being surrounded by beautiful things, you know. Um, I've always loved opening up, like you said, Mary Claire, but you know, for me it was British Vogue. You know, that was like my thing for me. I'd open up a Vogue magazine and be like, oh my gosh, this is lovely, this is beautiful, and I've watched runway shows on YouTube. Um, and yeah, I think that's just where my love came from. And magazines, you know, fashion magazines, but high fashion magazines, your ID, your Days magazines, you know, just beautiful editorial, weird models, that kind of thing. That's just, I think that's where my love came from. But I think I've just always had it in me, you know, to just love clothing and the power that clothing has on someone. It's so beautiful to see, you know, putting someone in something fabulous. It changes them. It changes who they are.
You were speaking now about, you know, putting people into different clothes and how it changes them. I've had the wonderful, fortunate opportunities to work with you as a stylist on some of the shoots and things that I've taken place on, and really I've seen you come into your own as a fashion stylist and being able to throw different, I don't know how you would say, you know, different genres of clothing together and just make it look incredible. Would you put that down to all your many years of staring at British Vogue magazines, or how do you think about fashion and how you put it together?
Well, you know, it's for me, it's literally just like, okay, so there's this beautiful quote by this beautiful person named
Yes.
RuPaul Charles. RuPaul Charles always says, we were born naked and the rest is drag. Right. I mean,
Love
I
it.
think of it. I mean, I take it in, and I think it's absolutely true. Because I mean, if I look at myself and how I used to dress, you know, back in the days, I mean, it was really bad, and now it's just like I just throw on like things that I feel comfortable in, um, and you know, I just take what I love and I just put it out. You know, so if I want to put a model, you know, like most models that I've worked with know that, you know, I will make you feel comfortable doing uncomfortable things. You know, like the female models know. I don't like a bra because I always try to cover it. I always try to cover them. They know that. And I just like all these different designers and what they bring to the table. That's why I can, you know, and it's also influence surrounding me, you know, Philippe, the way he dresses, Yasmin Fermi, how she dresses. It's all these different influences that I take in Lucilla, even her dress, how she dresses. I take it all in, I try it for myself. And then, you know, if I do a shoot, I'm like, okay, cool. You know, what would she wear if she was going to have all of these clothes with her? Or what would he wear? Kind of a thing.
Okay. Okay. So it's sort of like you're trying to embody these people who you maybe look up to, and trying to figure out
Yeah,
sort of like
basically.
what would they do in this scenario and how would they get dressed and how they wear these things.
Yeah.
Um, so I feel like this is another good segue into, you know, obviously we're going to be chatting a lot about fashion today. And so for those of you who are listening, we are recording this episode of Creators on Business somewhere in the middle of May, in the middle of the coronavirus season taking place. So Leeroy, you know, with everything that's taken place, and you're working at SA Fashion Week. SA Fashion Week was supposed to take place now in the last couple of weeks, if I'm not mistaken, the actual physical show. How you have been doing some pretty innovative things with the SA Fashion Week platform. Do you want to chat about that?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, firstly, thank you for, mentioning Fashion Week. It's always good when, members of the media talk about us. I always love it. I think it's really nice. Really, I do. I read everything. But yes, Fashion Week, our Spring Summer 20 collections was going to take place on the 22nd to the 25th of April. And obviously, due to the coronavirus, that couldn't happen. So we have been looking at doing a digital show. So obviously, that's still in the development stages of how that process is going to do. But, this past, like on the 22nd to the 25th, we did want to have a fashion week kind of a thing because it was very nostalgic for us.
Yeah.
And I think, for Lucilla especially, not being able to have a show was also like, it was very different for her because this is the first time in her career that it's out of her control, kind of a thing, So what we did is we took past seasons collections. So designers that were part of Autumn Winter 19, Autumn Winter 18, Spring Summer 19, and then Autumn Winter 20, and we took their collections and we broadcast them, we premiered them on our YouTube channel and on our website, just to kind of just tribute to them, for all of their hard work in putting their collections together. And then, so we did that at that time. And then prior to that, what we did is we had SA Fashion Week conversations with particular designers. So it was open to all the designers. And it was basically just them talking about the coronavirus and how it's affected them and impacted them on their business. Did they have to rethink their business methodologies? And, we always try to look at the positives in everything. So, what kind of positive thing did they take from, being in isolation? And most of them brought up the topic of, rethinking sustainability, rethinking how they go about doing their business practices. What is customer appreciation for them? So it was very interesting to see that. So obviously now I'm going to be opening it up to the models, because they also make up South African Fashion Week. Our makeup artists, our stylists, and just opening it up to them and seeing and hearing from them what it's all about. So I think it's really cool. We've gotten really good traction from it. So yeah, we're really loving it. And we're loving what the designers are bringing to the table with it. So yeah.
I want to sort of split the conversation in two here, and there's something I want to get back to this little hub of the coronavirus thing. But before I go with that, I want to find out from you, Leeroy, before the coronavirus epidemic sort of hit us and the whole entire world as a whole, fashion in general and fashion weeks all over the world have started changing, and I've been really fortunate to have traveled overseas to be a part of different fashion weeks. What are you seeing as the biggest sort of threat to fashion and fashion weeks across the world at the moment? What are the biggest struggles?
Sustainability.
And what does that mean? What is sustainability?
The thing is, sustainability means so many things. I mean, if you look at sustainability in terms of luxury, it means the fabric choices. It means your business methodologies. Are you being sustainable in that? It means, if you have a CMT, if you have CMTs that you work for, how are you being sustainable with them? So sustainability is such a broad thing, but if you look at the conversations that's been happening from end of last year to now, it's around sustainability. It's around how can, because I mean, if you look at fashion, we contribute, a lot to pollution. Especially if you're a denim designer, you use a lot of water.
Yeah.
So it's around sustainability, and especially with us at SA Fashion Week, we put in a 2025 vision around sustainability, and what that looks like. We are still needing that into our practices. So in our office, obviously, we do have large windows, so we don't use light as often. We try our utmost best not to use a lot of paper. So this is just office things. And then we always encourage the designers to use sustainable fabrics like hemp, cotton, linen. And obviously these fabrics are expensive, so when people say, the frustrating thing for me is like people say, oh, I'm not going to buy local, I'm going to buy from like Zara, For me, it's frustrating because I mean, they are willing to pay 700 Rand for a shirt when they can just pay that 700 Rand and buy from a local designer. And it's basically better fabric, number one, I think is better fabric. Number two, it's good. You are going to be an individual because it's a South African brand, so they do seasonal collections, and once it's done, it's done. The only time it gets made again is if it's requested by a client. Whereas with large industries like Zara, it's one pattern that gets distributed globally. So, I look at it from that perspective. So yeah, sustainability is a big thing. And also everyone's been talking about doing a digital fashion week, and no one is yet to show the world what a digital fashion week will look like. I think the closest I've seen is Evelyn Mora. You've met her on Helsinki Fashion Week. I think she's very close to what a digital fashion week will look like. I've been watching what she's been doing on social media, so I think it's people like her that we should be looking at. And then also there's been a lot of talks around ethical fashion, and ethical hacking kind of a thing, and export and import, and what that looks like, especially now, with, you can't just now just send stuff to Paris or let Paris things come to the side because, you don't want to die.
Yeah. And I feel like this is another good segue into what I want to chat about, because look, I made my first forays into the fashion industry probably about 4 or 5 years ago, when I attended my very first fashion week. And something I learned from the get-go, or something that was already starting to become a buzzword back then, was this idea of sustainability and sustainable fashion and stuff like fast fashion. And being very much the kind of guy that I am, I knew nothing about those kinds of things, and to a certain extent, these things still elude my brain a tiny little bit. But I want to chat to you about this idea of fast fashion. And there's so many people who have said that fast fashion is the reason that so much of the fashion industry is dying. Do you think that the coronavirus and the thing that's happened to us now, where we're all having to sort of focus inwards and focus specifically with the goods that can get manufactured in South Africa, sort of as you were saying now, you don't have to import or export things at the moment. We're all trying to sort of source things locally. Do you think that that's maybe going to have a long-term positive impact on the fashion industry, simply because now we are looking inwards?
I think that depends on the South African community. We are so used to going to H&M, to Zara, to all of these stores to buy clothes, So it needs to become a habit for us to, it's like you have to re-educate and teach yourself again, that, you know, let me go and buy a local garment. And one of the things that they'll say is that it's expensive, you know, but then at the same time, they are willing to go and buy a Gucci.
Yeah.
So it's like, why? You understand? Why? So I think at this time, I mean, there's been a lot of people have been buying masks from local designers, which is super cool. I think that is super great. I mean, Demil Clothing, Judith Atelier, Floyd Avenue, African Swiss, Band Collective, you know, it's By Peril. All of these people are really doing amazing things. And I mean, if you look at like Judith Atelier, she is, part of her proceeds goes to a fund where she is, you know, feeding people. So it's a lot of good that we are seeing right now. But then at the same time, you know, once the economy opens fully, what that looks like is up to us as the people. You know, if we decide, okay, cool, we've been happy with buying local, you know, let's go and continue this. But, you know, once that store opens, you know, and it's been restocked, I don't know what's going to happen. And I mean, I don't think it's like okay for me to say that, you know, Zara's bad, da da da. I have my opinion, you know. I do have pieces that I've also bought from Zara, but you know, my first inclination is always to see what a South African designer has that I think I love and I want to wear. And you know, if I have to save up money to buy it, then I will buy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it all depends on us as the people and the government.
So I want to ask you a question here, and this is, I mean, it's a very selfish question because it's the kind of thing I wonder often. You go to a shopping mall and you're like, okay, cool, I'm looking to buy some jeans. So, you know, I walk into a Mr. Price or a Woolworths or an Edgar's or something like that. How do I know what is locally sourced? How do I know what's locally designed? Where do I find locally sourced and designed garments?
So, I mean, Edgar's does stock local designers. Obviously, you need to look at the label, and if the label says made in SA, you know, in Edgar's, and also in Jet stores because they fall under the same umbrella. But you know, you do have local boutiques that stock local. Look at the Space. You know, the Space is, you know, all around South Africa, and they only stock local designers. So, you know, there's a wide variety. The Space has, and then there's the Spaceman. I think that there's only 2 stores of the Spaceman or 3 stores in South Africa. But, you know, they do have an online store that you can purchase from, and you can purchase from there. There's Platform 23 that you can purchase from. So, you know, the thing is, you just need to look for these stores.
Yeah.
And I mean, and the thing is, yes, it's difficult to find, but they are there. You have Lala Lux. Lala Lux is doing amazing things. Lala Lux, I mean, you know, we've collaborated with Lala Lux in, you know, taking our designers that showcase with us and putting them on the platform and selling there as well. Lala Lux has a wide variety of South African designers that you can purchase, you know, and they are online. So, you know, I would always say, look at those stores, you know, but if you want like straight off the runway things, Lala Lux is for you.
If you were to consider the South African context of the fashion week, of the fashion markets, who would you consider to be the most successful, and what would you attribute their success to?
Sorry, say that again.
So if you look at the South African market of fashion, who would you consider to be really successful in terms of the not just the quality and the clothing and the garments that they're producing, but sort of financially they're doing well for themselves?
So we're talking designers.
Yeah, designers or manufacturers of garments in South Africa.
So look, I would say number one, the person that's doing very well, I would say, is Gert-Jan Coetzee. Gert has built a fan base, has built a client base that I don't think, people, designers in South Africa understand, and the dynamic that Gert and his husband has in terms of business, the way that they do business is truly something to admire and to acknowledge and to, ask, like, how did you do it? Because I mean, so this weekend, I'm going to take this weekend, for example. I did a post on the masks that he was selling, right? And I think I did it on Saturday or Sunday. One of the two, right? Today it's sold out.
Sure.
And I mean, when I did the post, because he did it first, 16 hours later, I think there were because he had about 10 different masks that are on there that had about 35 or something stocked on the site. And when I went in, most of it was already sold out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's people like him that we should look at, and also brand loyalty, brand loyal people. So Judith Artillier has a great, how can I say, business methodology, and how she does her marketing on social media is also really something to kind of look at and kind of figure that thing out. Who else? There's quite a lot, but then also you have industry leaders, I'm sorry to mention this, Lucilla Boysen. Lucilla has built the South African fashion, the South African creative fashion industry to where it is today. And I think, she's created a platform for designers, for any creative. I think for any creative to kind of, spread their wings. And I literally put my hands up when I said spread their wings. To spread their wings and just be a true designer. And she's honestly really seen talent, and she understands talent. But yeah. And Palesa Mukubong, I mean, being the first Black African in the world to be globally recognized is also truly something to admire.
I think there's something to be said. I recently did some work with DeMille, as you'll know, and co-collaborator Peter Black, and I really think, just from the tiny little bit of fashion work that I've done, we've got some really, really great stalwart people. People who've been in the fashion industry for ages and who bring so much experience and knowledge to the fashion industry. Do you think there's, and I also know for a fact that there's a lot of fashion houses and fashion schools and things in South Africa. Do you think that a lot of this knowledge and experience is being brought forward within the newer people coming up in the ranks?
Yeah, I think let's take, I'm going to speak about, okay, so DeMille. DeMille has been in the industry for 25, 27 years. So that man, Kunrad, he knows his things, and I just love all of his stuff. If I could win the lotto, I would buy everything, that's how much I love his clothing, and he knows this. But, you know, if we're talking about fashion houses and fashion schools, you know, you can go to a school and you can learn what you can, but it's up to you as an individual to take that and kind of expand on it. And I think for me personally, there's been two people that I know that is young, but that have taken the knowledge from school and have just evolved it into something. And that's Tebe Magulu, who won the LVMH prize last year, and Richard Nisi. I mean, there's days where Tebe will, you know, bring his clothes to the fashion agent, and I'm just like, I just want to put it on me, even though it's ladies' wear. I couldn't care less. I just want to wear it, you know? But I mean, they've just, like, if you look at the construction of the garments and what goes into it, and, you know, what, like, the amount of thought put into a garment, it's truly a magical thing to kind of witness, you know? And, you know, Tebe winning the LVMH prize proves that there's great talent in South Africa. Also, Sindiso Khumalo was a finalist for the LVMH prize this year. And obviously, you know, due to the coronavirus, what they've decided to do is, instead of having a winner, they split the money amongst the 8 finalists, which I think is brilliant.
Wow. So,
yeah, and I mean, you know, Sindiso Khumalo is also a sustainable designer. She uses silks, pure silks, linens, cottons. So, yeah, I mean, we do have, like, and sometimes you have raw talent, people that have not gone to school to study, but that make spectacular things, like Ntando XB. You know, people think that he went to school, and he's a self-taught designer.
Jeez. So, I mean, this segues quite nicely again into something I want to chat about. Is, do you need to go out and study some kind of formal fashion degree, or is it the kind of thing, if you've just got a natural born talent and you work your ass off, you can get there?
It's difficult to say, Henry, because the thing is, the education gives you a leg up. Having that formal education gives you a leg up, and also, you know, tricks of the trade, you know, and but you know, sometimes raw talent is raw talent, and you can't deny the raw talent. And then there's education. You know, education is, knowledge is power. It's a fact.
Yeah. So with this, Leeroy, what do you see with the future of fashion? Do you think there is still going to be especially with the advent of fast fashion and with big companies that are coming out with 52 seasons, literally a season every single week of clothing, and this is obviously not just before the coronavirus that's currently taking place. Do you think there's still a future for the hard-earned, hard-working fashion that we're talking about, or do you think it's going to look a little bit different?
Well, I definitely think that there's going to be. The thing is, fashion will always be there, you know, because you can't go to work naked. HR will call you in and be like, this is a warning, you know, and you'll get arrested for public indecency. So I think fashion will be around. Fashion will definitely be around forever. It's just, I think it will look very different. And I think people in the industry will start looking at fashion from a different perspective.
Yeah.
And it's up to us in the fashion industry to educate the people that are not in the industry as to what fashion is going to look like in the future. And I think it's also up to us to gain that knowledge and to understand that knowledge, and then to take that knowledge and give it to people, whether it's your family, whether it's your boyfriend, whether it's your girlfriend, you know, whether it's your partner. I don't know, if you're in love with a tree, you know, educate that tree. You can't be politically correct these days.
Leroy, so I want to bring this all back to you. So you're working at SA Fashion Week, and that's a company that's been around for, I think they celebrated 21 years last year, if I'm not mistaken. Do you feel like you are able, as an individual, you're able to make an impact on the things, sort of the daily decisions that you make?
Yes. So last year, SA Fashion Week celebrated 22 years in the industry. This year, we're celebrating 23 years in the industry. The 21 years was in 2019, Mr. Marsh. You were there.
Yeah.
No, but I do feel that I bring something to the table, and I think it's my background of digital, and my experience of working with, especially in the IT industry. I've helped some designers with their social media, and what they've done with it is like really, really cool. And the thing that they've come back to me is always like, Leeroy, you're doing amazing things with South African Fashion Week. And there's days where it is difficult, and I do feel like, oh flip, am I giving of myself enough to this industry? But then it's those little things where, flip, Leeroy, you're doing great work, that kind of push me to do more. So I do think I do contribute what I can to the industry, in terms of digital, and in terms of the importance of PR, and the importance of having a consistent social media, and the importance of having an online store and having a brick and mortar store as well. So yeah.
So speaking about these things, and especially things that have made a big impact on you as an individual, what's the best investment that you have to make? And that doesn't necessarily have to be a monetary investment, but just something that you've maybe poured a lot of hard work, heart and soul into. What's the best investment that you've ever made that you've found has given you the greatest reward?
Education. And it sounds cliche, but I was having a discussion with my mother, I think it was last week, and she was like, Leroy, the best thing I could ever give you is education. And I thought about it, and it's so true. For me, learning, I always learn. I always learn something. I always try to learn, whether it's online, whether it's going to an institution. I love learning. Right now I'm studying with the Digital Marketing Institute in Dublin. And it's challenging, because it's things that I know, but then when they explain it to me and how to do it, they go so much more in depth, and I'm just like, oh crap, have I been doing it wrong this whole time? And the thing that I love most about my industry, about the digital industry specifically, is that it's ever changing. So I learn one thing, and then it kind of like gets phased out, and I've got to learn another thing. So I think for me, the best investment I've ever done for myself is learning, and I've learned from you.
What have you learned from me, Leroy?
No, I'm being serious. I've learned from you. You have a very stern business methodology, if I can say. You very like, this is how things are going to happen, and we're going to do it this way. And I love that about you. I love that you have this structure with you. So I've learned that from you. I've also learned you have a very specific eye for things, and how you look at things, especially with the photographs that you take. So that's really cool. And, I've watched some of your lectures. You think I haven't, but I have. And I know people think I don't. People think I'm just like chilling with my life, but I sit online and I watch everybody's things. I know what everybody's doing. So
Well, thank you, Leroy. I appreciate the kind words, but I think there's definitely something to be said about exactly what you've just mentioned in terms of education, but more towards what you've just actually said right at the end is just actually taking notice of everything that's taking place around you.
Yeah,
I think it's
around
very I think it's very easy to fall into the trap of being within your own little space and bubble. So it's cool. It's cool that you are still actively taking part in other people's lives. And thank you for your kind words. I appreciate it.
you. And just one last thing, it's always very important to know that you don't live your life through your cell phone.
Mm.
You know, if you want to see people, make an effort to see it. If things come along, then just try and try and try and try until you see one another. I can't see you and give you a hug because I'll die or you'll die. I don't know if Miss Corona wants to find something. But the thing is like if I see you, I know that I can just talk to you and I can just chill. And I don't need to like see you only on social media. So social media sometimes is the devil, but
Oh yeah.
be a good devil sometimes.
Oh yeah. I have to agree with you there. I have been known to throw a lot of shade social media's way. I'm not the
Hmm.
biggest advocate for social media, but what you say is true, and I think that's something that as life and the fashion industry and every industry sort of becomes more globally digital. And even as we seek sort of sustainability, I think there is definitely something that we need to remember within the fact that we are still a human race and we still require human intimacy and the face-to-face connection. It's actually interesting. I was having a conversation earlier today with someone where excuse me, where we were chatting about how buildings and the spaces that we use are changing, and how I still believe that people will still want to in the future go in and physically touch the products that they want to buy. It's not just everything is happening digitally. So I think the note that you've just made is very important as well.
Yeah, but I mean, it's also, I love going into stores. You know this.
Mm.
You've been with me at Santon City. I just love, I just like going into a store and just like looking at things. It's nice. But then, sometimes it's also nice sitting on your couch and ordering something.
Mm. Yeah, 100%. So, Leroy, sort of changing a little bit of tack over here. What is something
Mm.
that you, as an individual, believe that other people might think is completely crazy?
It's completely.
Crazy.
Mm. Oh, this is such a touchy subject. Um, I but
We love touchy subjects.
I I think okay, so I come from a very Christian background, and
Yeah.
I'm very liberal. Like I don't care who you date, who I date, as long as I'm happy and I love that person, I'm going to date whoever.
Mm.
So I think, a lot of my Christian friends will hate me for saying this, but, I believe in individuality. But most people believe, and I believe in God. I believe in God. I do. I pray all the time, and people are like, oh, you pray. And I'm like, yes, I pray. I come from a praying home. So, yeah, because for me, God gives me my creativity, and I don't care who you pray to. The thing is, you are praying to someone, you
Mm.
know, even even if, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be touching subjects here, but even if you're an atheist,
Yeah.
I still think that somewhere you have believed in something and it's worked out for you,
Mm.
even if you're an atheist. Even if you're a Satan worshiper, I mean, I have Satan worshiping friends, good friends. I prefer them more to my Christian friends. I do.
Um, it's,
We
it's
love, man.
but that's exactly it. I think it's what's interesting is, again, I had a conversation this morning. I was recording another podcast episode this morning, and we were chatting about sort of believing in yourself and loving yourself. And I think so much of what you're saying right now is part of that, because you need to accept yourself for who you are, irrespective of who you think you are and what you are, and how you believe in your belief systems. I think you
Yes,
need.
and I'm going to go back to what I said earlier about RuPaul, right?
Yes.
All those drag queens, right? Am I allowed to swear on this
Of
podcast?
course, swear away.
Okay, so this recent episode, there is a drag queen called Crystal Method, and Crystal Method is like super weird. And what the judges were like, oh my gosh, it's so nice to see you come into your weird. And she was like, I feel like people don't understand my weirdness. And Whoopi Goldberg said this year, fuck them.
Exactly.
Because it's true.
Yeah.
The thing is, if I'm having a good time being myself, doing me, being me, loving me, you'll see that and you'll want to follow.
Mm.
And that's just the thing. If you're doing you and you being happy, why do you need other people? Well, you need other people because if you need to love them or anything, then they need to be there. But, I love being myself. I love being an individual. I love, times where I'm happy and I'm loving people. And then, there's times where I like being, a bitch. And he laughs.
I think everyone can be everyone needs to be a bitch at some point. But yeah, I think the core message here is that you need to accept yourself, and you need to love yourself before you're able to do that for other people, and capable of giving that power and that sort of fulfillment to other people as well.
Yeah.
So, Leeroy, starting to sort of wind down here a little bit, if you were to look back at Leeroy 10 years ago, what sort of advice would you give yourself?
Oh, don't take yourself too seriously. Like, don't. That's one thing. Always remember to love yourself. I tell myself to always trust my instincts. I tell myself, oh, Henry, why are you bringing up all of these things? I tell myself it is okay to love who you want to love.
Mm.
I tell myself it's okay to not have a father. It's okay to be alone. Yeah. And I'm going to stop there because I don't want to go into this deep, dark hole that I see myself plunging into. But, it's those things that I tell myself. Because, I was bullied as a child. Bullied. Really terribly. And, it's people like you that give me hope that someone like me can be looked at with love and with admiration.
Well, yeah, I it's a really difficult kind of thing, and I think there's a lot of people who go through similar experiences that you are mentioning, and I do think so much of life's negativity and issues and problems and strife can just be solved with one thing, and that's as you said, love, and just loving one another and accepting yourself for the incredibly amazing and talented, fabulous human being that you are. And I think that's part of the reason why we've had such a great relationship and such a good friendship over the last, I don't even know, 5 years, whatever it's been that we've been friends. Because it's based off of mutual respect and just an appreciation for one another.
Yeah, and it's just really important.
So thank you, Leeroy.
Hug right now.
Yes, a hug would be great.
You make me feel things that I'm just like, why? It is Tuesday afternoon.
So thank you for sharing that. Leeroy, for all the party people out there on the interwebs listening to this right now, where can they find you on the
You can
social
find me on,
website things?
on all social media channels. I'm everywhere. My handle is agape_eulogy on all platforms.
Okay.
Oh, don't add me on Facebook and don't message me on Messenger because I don't. I won't. I'll look at it and I will blue tick you if you message me on Messenger. I'm being honest.
That's the best. Okay, Leeroy, last question for you. If you had a big ass billboard on the N1 right now, and well, not right now, before the coronavirus season took place, and everyone is stuck in traffic and they were just staring at this one billboard, what would your billboard say?
Fucking do you.
Boom, drops mic. Love it.
Yeah, I love it. You know, I could tattoo that on me, but I don't believe in such like tattooing such words on yourself. But I would be tempted to do it.
I love it. I love it. Leeroy, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. Again, this is the more I do these chats and the more I get to learn about people. It's so incredible to me how we've already gone through an entire hour. It's been a privilege and a pleasure talking to you. So thank you for being on the show.
And to you, and you know, keep doing amazing things, Henry. Like literally, you know, I think about like the photographs that you used to take like back in the day and how you've evolved. You know, you are truly amazing, and keep being amazing. And I just love you so much. H dog. That's what I call Henry to everybody listening. I call Henry H dog.
Oh, that's the best. Leeroy, thank you so much, man. Yeah, there's so much love and mutual respect that flows both ways. It's been a privilege and a pleasure to be your friend over the last, as I said, like 3 or 4 or 5 years. And yeah, thanks for being on the show. It's been a pleasure getting to catch up with you in such a manner. And yeah, for everyone out there who's been listening, thank you so much for joining in on another episode of Creatives on Business. I will catch you guys on the next one.